He wants to be the center of gravity. You know, the sun should rise and set with Oshiomhole. You know, so that was his style, and he was demoting everyone that has that capacity, you know, to be great. Unlike, and that was the difference. That's why all of them will say, oh, they want to be like Tinubu, and but they don't have the gravitas to do what Tinubu is doing. Tinubu was who headhunt people he spot great talent from, you know, and promote them. But Oshiomhole was pushing down those who have the capacity to make the state great. So it was on that day I wrote him off. So for me, he was a junior labor activist and comrade, and a nocturnal bourgeoisie and desperate capitalist whose pastime was or is primitive accumulation. Obi is not an Oshiomhole. You know, if Oshiomhole gives you good money, if you look at your wristwatch, it's going to be at least 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening. But when Obi says good morning, we look at your wristwatch, it's going to be 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. in the morning. Look, even as clueless as Buhari, even as incompetent as Buhari, he fired his secretary of government over grass cutting. You know? What is so special in Femi Gbajabiamila still retaining that office when a matter is being investigated that concerns his involvement and the involvement of his office? I mean, Gbajabiamila is a lawyer, as you know. You can't sit as an accuser and a judge in your own case. If the government is serious, the first thing is for him to step aside. We have a peculiar situation where the press has been muzzled. Those who are not outrightly muzzled engage in self-censorship. You know, all the security agencies take executive direction. The judiciary is comatose. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that the survival of democracy in Nigeria is in the hands of the judiciary. Take, for instance, even the media today. Take all, if not for social media, you will not, we are happy for social media for people like you guys. Which traditional broadcast organization can allow you to speak no hold bar? The first thing you hear, I'm surprised I don't hear it from you. You hear your moderator or your anchor, please, you have to, you have to tone down your language, because, you cannot prove that, or, because of NBC.
This is Naija Unfiltered.
Yeah, so thank God this is unfiltered, but those ones are filtered.
Welcome to another edition of Naija Unfiltered, a SYMFONI podcast. And our guest on today's edition of the program is the only natural director. Others are civil servants, political directors. The only natural director, OSA, Director, National Public Secretary, Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC. Thank you. Let's just start on a lighter note. How did you come about the name director?
That question is something that is going to it's something I have to confront every day of my life, formally and informally, but I will not stop reiterating and stating why I'm known as director. I think 2 major reasons. One, it was the name given to me by my father. My father didn't have the benefit of Western education, but he's one of the most intelligent men I've ever met in my life. Very witty, very committed. He knew that education was a leveler and was the way, so he was committed to it because, like he will always tell us, I don't know whether my father, that's my grandfather, was white, black, or multicolored. Because his own father died when he was about 2 or 3 years old, about 2 years old. So he vowed to train his children to the best of his ability. His normal saying then was usually, even if I need to borrow money, I will lend money or borrow money from people to train you guys to the best of your ability. So the choice was up to us to read. So when he started having kids, he also encountered some challenges. He lost his first 6 children, So when my elder brother stayed, he envisioned the kind of thing that my children should be great. And then the normal thing. So he named my most senior brother minister. Yeah. And then he named my immediate elder brother doctor. And they named me director. So why I said there are 2 reasons was that when he gave us those names, it didn't really stick, But at a very young age, maybe between 3 and 5, I now said, look, I want to be called director. I insisted. And mine stuck, to the extent that in the family, it's only my own that's really pronounced, It's only those elders who know that my elder brothers were named minister and doctor. But mine stuck with me as director. And like I said, it's been fun using the name when I was a student union activist at the University of Benin. My payoff line was usually vote for OSA director, the man with the name that stands out of the crowd. So that's
and
it.
The name has stayed with you and has worked for you.
Yeah, he will thank God for his blessings. Yeah.
All right, let's now go into the meat of our discussion today. You were a key figure in the June 12 struggle alongside other journalists, activists, and you were imprisoned by the regime of late Sani Abacha for opposing military rule through your independent publications. With so much happening and apparent attack on the civic space, why is your voice not being heard as it was then?
I wouldn't really agree that my voice is not being heard. One, if my voice is not being heard, I would not have emerged as the National Public Secretary of the greatest and most vibrant opposition party in Nigeria, to the fastest growing opposition party, the NDC. You also know that there's a transition naturally from traditional media to social media. Where in traditional media, then I worked with Tell Magazine and we later founded Insider Weekly. Tell Magazine was like a holy Bible. It was the holy grail without being blasphemous, At that time, whatever Ted says, that is the truth, and it was actually the truth. So, but when social media came, we don't want to go into the intellectual discussion of how social media has eroded the influence of the traditional media. I'm also a lawyer, so I decided to go into legal practice. I have my chambers in Lagos, with a branch office in my home state, Benin City, Edo State. So it was just maybe reworking the style and tactics of the struggle from newsroom to the courtroom.
I can get that because if you look at the whole thing, you cannot be as visible as you used to be now adorning the wig.
Yes.
So the struggle has to definitely change.
The legal profession comes to I never knew the strength of that word until I started practicing law, that the lawyer is naturally conservative. It's only people like Chief Gani Fawemin that broke away from the ranks and taught us the way to go. Otherwise, there are certain, for instance, there are things I would say as a journalist, but as a lawyer, I won't say it because I'll be cautious of libel. Even if I have the facts, but are you supposed to say it? And then there are things you may also know, which is called privilege in communication in law. I cannot discuss such issues, but if I were a journalist, I will. So those are things that I try to strike a balance, so maybe that contributed to, but I still do my write-up, and I didn't also like this idea of people going to the television, using the media as a tool of social mountaineering. You use it as social climbers. They use the media, the media is a tool for social climbing, because people will call me, why are you not on telly? By the time you're on television now, the government will call you and appoint you. And I get infuriated. I'm very angry. So, are you saying this thing because you want to be noticed so that you'll be given an appointment? So those were some of the things that really, really made me, reduce my visibility in the media space. I didn't want to be opportunistic.
Regrettably, that is the kind of thing we have with most people, even those who are from the civil society group. We shout, comrade, comrade. And then when we get in there, we begin to wonder, is it the same person we are shouting comrade all about?
Exactly. There are two types of comrades. There are comrades and there are comrades. Most of them are comrades.
Comrade.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. In 2011, you ran for Senate seat in Edo State, but later experienced a disagreement with Senator Adams Oshiomhole. Could you share what led to that situation and probably face off?
Yeah, like I just said, I think that's the question is coming at the right time. My experience with Adams Oshiomhole was a very terrible one, in the sense that, in 2011, when he was the governor of Edo State, self-styled comrade governor, with his kind of sheer populism, carrying the people along and doing populist things, going on the road, take banana from market to may eat, all those kind of things optics, just to give the impression that, he's really with the people. So a lot of people were taking, I wasn't though, because I knew Adams as a journalist. And when I was working with Tell Magazine, our office was Textile Labour House in Lagos. And Adams was then the secretary of the National Union of Textile Garment Workers. Yeah. So we used to call him landlord because he was the one we were paying rent through or something like that. So I know him very well. I know him inside out. So I was never enamored of this is populist system. But I felt that we could blackmail him with his public persona to perform, even though I know he's not what he was portraying to the public, So I felt one of the ways to also do that was to get into the political fray, get your hands dirty and all that, let's see how we can also help him, by way of this, what I call moral blackmail, to say, Adams, people think you are like this, so you have to do this thing, those who will keep kind of a check to keep reminding him. So that's why I decided to run for the Senate. But I really saw the true Adams. There was no primaries, but he imposed somebody on us and all that. Later, he invited me to... I've never said this to publicly because he goes about saying all kinds of things that maybe I was the one, but he was the one who invited me to offer me a commissionership appointment, And I had two or three times discussion. The first day he offered it, I told him, well, I'm going to think about it, And he was like shocked. You want to think about it when people will call their arm and leg, to accept the offer? I said, no, I'm going to think about it. Because I have a family and I have a political group, so I want to discuss with them, So 2 weeks after or so, he called me again. And I said I have my fears and expectations. So until I'm able to discuss that, I won't accept the offer. So he invited me to the government house, that we should discuss my fears and expectations. So when I got there, one-on-one, I said, let's start from your fears. I remember telling him that, comrades, I know that you are very garrulous, and that when you call an ESCO meeting for 3 hours, only you as the governor will talk for 2 hours, 45 minutes, and give 15 minutes to 18 commissioners, SSG, chief of staff, deputy governor, to speak. And that when they are speaking, it's not in tandem with a set agenda, you hush them down. I said, well, when I'm coming, I'm coming to serve the people, not an individual. Therefore, my views must count for something. I said, I knew I was going to blackmail me that maybe I love money, so I forgrounded my argument with the fact that the second point that, look, I'm not interested in who makes the money, but I learned that when you give out contract, you don't carry your commissioners along. You just say, at the end of ESCO, Commissioner for Information, there's a contract of 500 million, which we have awarded. You use the word we to so and so. Please sign the document. I said, comrade, I will not sign such documents if I did not participate in conducting due diligence about that company. I said, I'm not just a journalist, I'm also a lawyer. What if it is a company that is not registered under Nigerian law? People will say, Osa director, a journalist, a lawyer. They are inexcusable defenses that people will not tolerate. I said, and I don't want to be put in that kind of shoes that I will not sign. At this time, he was already getting agitated. So, and I pointed straight to him. With due respect, I said, comrade, I will not insult you, but it is my duty to blast you with the truth, that I will blast you with the truth. That was my exact word. I said, I will blast you with the truth. I said, thirdly, I noticed that you have a cabal, that runs the administration. I listed the names of the cabal for him. At that point, my great friend, the very committed comrade, Oyerinde, the late Oyerinde, who was his private secretary, just opened the door. And I pointed straight and said, yeah, he's one of the cabal. So that one did not know what was happening. I said, yes, he's also one of the cabal. So that one was kind of, what are these people talking about? I mean, I wish he was alive. So these are things that happen. So he cannot twist the stories, So I said, when decisions are taken, is outside the agreement of this your cabal, that there are a way you discountenance them and all the rest, that Edo State is ours, and we have to start this going with a sense of purpose and contribution. I told you some other things which were a bit private in terms of his lifestyle and all that, So, but of course, you can already imagine what was going to be the outcome of that discussion. So he wasn't happy. Normally, he would usually escort me at least to the door, but on that particular day, I think I remember the date, it's in my diary, that the April 4th or April 12th, 2012, because, we had this thing, primaries, and this argument dragged on. And he already had about 4-5 slots, commissioners who were free. Some went to contest, and some resigned, something like that. So the slots were there. I think April 12th or so, April 12th, 2012, or April 4th. But it's in my diary. So then he went to, that's why I cannot lie about it. One of his assistants, who he knew through me, Mr. Rasmus Ihide, who he appointed, is one of his SSA, is aware of the details of this discussion. And then I went to tell my very good friend, Pastor Saigi Izeyamu, and Chief Oyegun, former governor, and Saigi Izeyamu was smiling. He said, comrade had come to speak to him about the issue. And he started by saying, Pastor, if I appoint that guy's commissioner, the guy will fight me for school. The guy will fight me. So the man asked him, what happened? So he explained. I think Pastor now told him that, but comrade, you are becoming a bundle of contradiction. What exactly do you want? You are the one who told me that there are people in your ESCO who don't utter a word. They've been there for 6 or 7 months. They don't say anything. Here you have a vibrant young man now, and you are saying he's going to fight you. Now, come on. From what the young man said, you should know that he's determined to come and serve, and all that. But anyway, that was the way it ended. Oyegu also said, as for him, he would not have spoken the way I spoke, but that if he were in Oshiomhole's shoes, before I left that government house, he wants them to announce my name before saying even to the House of Assembly, because he knows that this guy has something to offer, But that is Oshiomhole for you. He doesn't take prisoners. He doesn't like, I don't want to call it competition, but he doesn't just like people who are respected, people who are hailed. Let me give you a practical example. For instance, if you are working with Oshiomhole now, then when he was governor, and people are saying, Osa director, Osa, the next thing, he will find a way to get you out of that space. He wants to be the center of gravity. The sun should rise and set with Oshiomhole, So that was his style, and he was demoting everyone that has that capacity, to be great. Unlike, and that was the difference. That's why all of them will say, oh, they want to be like Tinubu, and but they don't have the gravitas to do what Tinubu is doing. Tinubu was who headhunt people he spot great talent from, and promote them. But Oshiomhole was pushing down those who have the capacity to make the state great. So it was on that day I wrote him off. And I think since that 2012, I don't think I've never been in a public space with him, certainly one-on-one. Maybe I've seen a public space maybe once or twice, So my feeling is that Oshiomhole is somebody that gives a different impression by himself publicly, and a real person is far worse, and some of us who are journalists know about all these deficiencies. So for me, he was a junior labor activist and comrade, and a nocturnal bourgeoisie and desperate capitalist whose pastime was or is primitive accumulation.
So how will you describe his leadership style generally?
No, he was
from NLC president, a comrade governor, and when he now delved into mainstream politics.
Yeah, the truth was that you must give it to him. The man has native intelligence. His academic pedigree is wretched. There's no verifiable record of any academic record of him. You could realize that was one of the issues when he became governor. And they said he has no academic certificate and all the rest. And he said he has one, And when the court challenged him, he said he didn't collect it, so they should get a copy from the Ministry of Education. Was it a sheer coincidence that particular department of the Ministry of Education caught fire, got burned down? Ministry of Education, Yaro, very close to my father's house. Until he left, because of his voodooistic disposition and belief in marabouts, he never repaired that place. For the additional 6 years he stayed in office, he never repaired that place, that particular section of the building. So he has no academic, he has a wretched academic pedigree, and I think that's one of the problems he has. The guy has a kind of, people don't know. One of the reasons Oshiomhole talks too much is because he has a complex. He believes that if he gives you the opportunity to talk, you might be able to, offer a counter narrative that will be superior to his. So he tries to dominate by talking, no stop, no full stop, no comma, nothing, Not to talk of paragraphing. So at the end of the day, I would say that he's one man in the history of Nigerian labor unionism that has succeeded in using labor to recklessly enrich himself. Ask me any labor leader who is 100th as rich as Oshiomhole. We know of Imodu. And the man is always fighting people great people. Imodu is not only an Edo man like Oshiomhole. They are from almost the same village. How has Imodu been immortalized? It's just that the man has been immortalized in our hearts. But in terms of fiscal infrastructures and things like that, you would have expected that a man who was president of NST, who became governor of Edo State, there will be an annual public lecture for Pa Michael Imodu. There will be an institution or building or street or housing estate for labor people named after Pa Imodu. Oshiomhole never did any of that. And he cannot, because he's competing with everybody. He sees everyone as a competition. And he wants to be the only cock that crows in Edo politics. So as a labor activist, he succeeded in deceiving most people, not me. Right from the one, I knew who he was, before he became a public person. But I think Edo people realized too late, Nigerians realized too late, or not until after he became national chairman of APC. Because even as state governor of Edo State, people were still giving him the benefit of the doubt. But it was when he became national chairman, they knew that this guy does not tolerate dissenting views. He does not tolerate opposing views. He does not want to mingle with people who he believes have superior intellectual capacity. But life is about the fact that you don't know everything. Oshiomhole is a Mr. Know-All. But in terms of leadership quality, He's very, very poor. That's why today, go to Edo State. What's the legacy of Oshiomhole? Who are Oshiomhole's followers? Whatever you might say now about Buhari, one of the most clueless presidents Nigeria ever had, but he had fanatical followership. Whatever you might say about President Tinubu, he has made men. People fanatically follow him. There is nobody you can point to in Edo State as fanatical follower of Oshiomhole. Because he didn't make human beings. He's always everything about himself. Me, myself, and I. And you saw them making joke out of him the other day. The president of Senate. Imagine if Akpabio can be Akpabio now ridiculing somebody. So you can imagine how low that person is. Say, yeah, we have a colleague whose video is trending, massaging legs. That's what they do. So, we all have a private life. But if you are a public officer, you must ensure that your private life remains private, knowing that you are a beacon of hope to many. You are a role model to many. But Oshiomhole is very careless and callous. The way he treats...
Those words are a little bit hard.
Yes, if I can find a harder word, I will use. He cannot... You see, like I told you, that as a lawyer, I try to restrain myself about how I speak, If I were just simply a journalist, because some of my colleagues, if I live here, would say, oh, why would you say that? You're a lawyer. There's no decided case, in court to prove that this man is this man, That's why I'm even restrained. Otherwise, come on. I've granted an interview before, which was published, front page. He was a sitting governor then, 2012. If you permit me, because I'm quoting that interview, and I challenge him to take me to court for calling him a criminal, so that I have the opportunity to use documentary evidence at my disposal to disgrace and expose him. He never went to court. That was 2012.
Maybe he wanted peace to reign.
That's his business.
Or some people may have intervened on his behalf and say, this is your brother, there is no point.
You see, can you do that to a fashola and he will tell you that, oh, there's no point? Because he has earned his reputation. He wouldn't take that.
Comrade, all you've just said, they are in the realm of allegations. We let them be for now and see them as mere allegations. Probably someday, sometime, we'll get the former governor to respond. All right, let's move to your party. Let's discuss Nigerian Democratic Congress now. How is your National Working Committee addressing the grievances arising from the post-primaries and, of course, associated court cases?
Yeah, it's been a challenging one. There's no need pretending about it. The truth is that there was this massive influx into the NDC by politicians, even by those who have good intentions, and by those who have ulterior motives. When I say by those who have ulterior motives, we have sitting governors sponsoring candidates in our party to come and pick tickets.
And they are not in NDC.
They are not in NDC. No, we cannot even validate, but they said they are registered. But if they are registered, they are just there, they just register in name. They don't believe in the philosophy of the NDC. What you call molds. A mole will pretend to wear the apparel of wherever he wants to go and operate. But deep inside, he or she has a mission. So, all these people came and, the INEC timetable was not also helpful. It was quite choking. I thank God we were able to meet with all their guidelines and timelines. Otherwise, the various court decisions that are coming up now, if you had capitalized on some of the court decisions that say, oh, INEC has no right to constrict the timetable, and you now decide to do your own outside that, you can see the Court of Appeal now say, no, INEC has the right. So, but we thank God, we're smart enough in NDC because we are prepared to serve this country. We are prepared to liberate this country from its present state of mess. We are prepared to take Nigeria to its destined position. So because of that, we are always far-sighted in the way we do our things. So we felt, no, whatever timeline they say, we'll play within it. So We met everything, but it didn't come without challenges. And like we've always said, in NDC, why we say that it's no longer going to be business as usual, not because we came from outer space to rescue Nigeria. We are Nigerians, but we have studied the challenges, the problems of this country. And one of it is that politicians are not sincere in their relationship with people. And we offer to be sincere with Nigerians that if we have challenges, we are going to confront these challenges with every sense of sincerity and openness. So when we had this issue of people going to, saying they were disenfranchised or the primaries did not take place the way they want and all that, we have been talking to them. And like we've said repeatedly, we don't want a single member, a single genuine member of NDC to leave the party on account of not being heard, on account of not being treated properly. So to that extent, we'll be having a series of meetings, and we've set up a National Reconciliation Committee, and we have encouraged this National Reconciliation Committee to dovetail to the state, local government, and the world level. Why we have not been very intensive in doing that now is because, every day until maybe at the end of the month, we are not really going to have a respite, in the sense that we are now uploading the names of our candidates. So meeting the deadline of INEC, getting all the candidates to bring their resume and fill the EC9 form, the INEC form, and all that. It's taking our time, So, but immediately we are through with that, we are going to embark on this national reconciliation and move from state to local government to world. And
who is chairing the National Reconciliation Committee?
Well, we have a lot of what will I say now? At the time, the idea was mooted by the national leader. The first person that came to mind was Alhaji Buba Galadima. Of course, the national leader is also involved. The Distinguished Senator Serake Dixon, the presidential candidate, His Excellency Peter Obi, the vice presidential candidate, His Excellency Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, and the national chairman of the party, Distinguished Senator Moses Cleopas. So those are the key members, but it's going to be expanded to ensure that we have a holistic approach, or we take a holistic approach to solving the challenges.
Like the observation you noted that you don't want any member to leave the NDC because of feeling I was not treated the way I should have been treated, or I lost her completely. How far has it gone with the people, at least those who expressed grievances, despite that the committee has not been fully activated? How far have you been able to calm frayed nerves in that direction?
Yes, so far so good. I will give us a pass mark in the range of a B, at least, in the sense that before you have people carrying placards, coming to the national leader's house or to the secretariat. That has stopped. We have people going to media houses. That has minimized, if not stopped, because we are engaging them. We are engaging ourselves, because if you say them, it's like we and them. We are engaging ourselves to ensure that this is resolved. And those who have gone to court, yes, we respect their right to exercise their right to go to court. If you feel aggrieved, the court is the right place rather than taking laws into your hand. But we are also discussing with our members who are in court that we need a united front to confront the APC that has become like a sword of Damocles hanging on the neck of Nigerians, So far, so good. We are happy with the progress we are making.
All right. What are the key principles and beliefs that is shaping the ideology of the NDC?
Yeah, we have looked at Nigeria critically over the years. This is not the time to engage in pigeonhole yourself ideologically, because since the collapse of the Soviet Union, we've found out that the intensity of a bipolar world has reduced, capitalism versus socialism / communism. So, I mean, everything's about neoliberal economy and what have you. We ideologically we believe that we are welfarists, because we believe that the concern of every government should be the welfare of its citizens, So that's why education is key to our policies, that everyone must have access to education, and we believe that the issue of youth unemployment must also be addressed by catalyzing a productive economy, where we move from consumption to production, according to our presidential candidate, His Excellency Peter Obi. And then we also believe that we have to address the infrastructural deficit in Nigeria, because when people come to Abuja for the first time from outside Nigeria and they go back, they have a wrong impression of Nigeria. They don't tell you, oh, why are people complaining? You guys are enjoying. Abuja is beautiful. I remember when I was in Nairobi. So everywhere you go, Nairobi, I was in Nairobi, I was in Monrovia, that they were saying all these things that they want to visit because they visited Abuja once and they felt that is replicated. Yeah, that's Nigeria. I said, no. That's a misconception. You need to go to some areas and you know that nobody is going to tell you to run away. On the lighter mood. But the truth is that we can replicate Abuja in the 36 states of the country. That is just, we have the capacity, we have the resources, we even have the human resources to do that. But I think the challenge is that we just have a bankrupt and irresponsible elite or ruling class, who believe that the only thing that matters to them is themselves and their family. And they forget that this yourself and your family, you want to exist in the Nigerian society. If the necessary conditions are not there for the ordinary masses, they are going to make life intolerable for you. And that's why today we're having armed robbery, banditry, Boko Haram, and what have you. So these big men now, let them drive from Abuja to Kaduna now, or Kano, or to Sokoto, and go and have their fun, go to and frolic. Or you can fly. Okay, no problem. Move around within the city too. So we must learn, our elders must wake up and smell the coffee. That look, it is in their own enlightened self-interest to ensure that we have a better Nigeria where every man or woman is able to pursue his dreams and ambition and realize it to the extent of his ability.
Let's look at your approach, your welfarist approach, how it differs from other political parties like the APC, ADCP. They also identify as welfarists. So how is your open approach of welfarism different from theirs?
Yes, you see, it is not enough to engage in sloganeering, which is what my former good friend Oshiomhole was doing, sloganeering, leafleteering, It's one thing to say I'm welfarist, it's another thing to practicalize it, The truth is that you can put all these things on paper, but how do you act it? Now, when Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State, he knew that education was a leveler, and education was the way. That was why he took Anambra State from about the last position in the educational ranking in Nigeria to number 1 under 2 years, And he also had some infrastructural replacement, address the level of security, because if you don't have security, you cannot invest. Then take Rabbi Musa Kongwaso. I stayed in Kano for over a decade. The last time I went to Kano, immediately after he left, I almost missed my way. because the place has been transformed. Apart from that, he was one of those who started in the northern part of Nigeria to take over 100 students abroad, pay their school fees upfront, scholarship. I watched one the other day when I was watching one of these channels, Nigerians in Diaspora, who is making waves in Imperial College, London. And these are ways in good side. This is our welfarist approach. Unlike the others, when the president was governor of Lagos State, his own spokesperson, Daniel Bwala, said he's nothing but a tax collector. Bwala said President Tinubu is nothing but a tax collector. And that's what we are still witnessing today. That he will collect your blood as tax. That is Bwala. I'm quoting Bwala. He's a spokesperson. So, a tax collector is different from a tax collector pretending to say you want to be welfarist. It's different from a capitalist outlook person who put pragmatic policies in place that will engineer and enhance the living conditions of the ordinary people. So it is not just enough to say it. It is how you put your hands on the plow and implement those policies.
How does this NDC's welfarist approach or welfarism differ from your presidential candidate's capitalist worldview?
A lot of people have said this, that Obi is a capitalist. Let me foreground my argument with the fact that Obi is a capitalist with a human face. Obi is a capitalist who prefers the human race to the profit race, while the others are capitalists who prefer the profit race to the human race. And that is why, in his actions as governor, he did those things that will enhance the welfare and the general conditions, living conditions and standard of the people. But for the fact that he is a businessman and his money, his investment are yielding business. So he's capitalist in professionally, or yes, by virtue of what he does. But politically, when he's in power or he's in a position of authority, he's welfarist in his position, unlike tax collectors. Those are the ultra capitalists. Even though they will pretend to be, they will pretend to operate or to have a manifesto that is welfarist in nature, but they are ultra capitalists because they know nothing but tax. Why Obi knows nothing but production, and addressing the living conditions of people to make it better.
So tell us about Obi as against the claims by his former allies that he is not the person many believe him to be. At least you have been close to him now and as the mouthpiece of the party.
Yeah, Obi is not an Oshiomhole. If Oshiomhole gives you good money, if you look at your wristwatch, it's going to be at least 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening. But when Obi says good morning, we look at your wristwatch, it's going to be 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. in the morning. So I want to say that, one, Nigerians should ask themselves the question. All the things they are saying Obi did as governor, in terms of not just being frugal, but in terms of decency in conduct and his approach to governance. Did it just happen yesterday? No. This thing happened about 20 years ago. A man was finishing his office. They said, we need to prepare what you call retirement benefits and, what they call it, retirement benefits, what he will be getting every year. I've not been a civil servant, so I really don't know.
Gratuity.
Gratuity and not their pension, thank you. The pension was humongous. Obi rejected it. But in Edo State, we didn't have that. Oyegu was governor. They didn't do that. Lucky Gbinedion, who has the pedigree of a product of capitalism, unrepentant product of capitalism. Didn't do that. But when Oshiomhole was going, he enacted a law. He sent a bill that was passed into the law in Edo State for humongous payment of pension and gratuity that entitles him to be collecting brand new cars almost every year, every other year, a house in Abuja, Benin, what do you call it? Medical bills paid for you and your 4 kids, for a state like that. But Obi didn't do that. Obi felt, I don't need these things because the normal pension and gratuity for me is enough. Now, you have these same people in the Senate still collecting salaries and collecting gratuity. But Obi never did. This was the same Obi. He was given a plot of land in Abuja. His entitlement, anyway, as a governor. He refused it. He said no. You see, you can go on counting. Now, the questions you ask yourself, this is not a happenstance. This must be this man's characteristics. This must be this man's mannerism. This must be this man's idiosyncrasies. So, and that is what we need in Nigeria today. Someone who can be exemplary in conduct. That is one of my biggest challenges with the Tinubu administration. That you ask people to tighten their belt, but you guys are not. But Obi will first of all tighten his belt. You will see that it's tight. You have no choice. It's like, I give you an example. When Tunde Idiagbo and Buhari were, Nigerians were obeying the rules now, as chaotic as Lagos then. But we're queuing up anywhere they go. Because, by example, now, but when you discover, it's like when Buhari came as a civilian president, do you know that some businessmen, I know of 2, who were trying to relocate outside Nigeria, that this man is going to come after them. He's going to fight corruption, he's going to do that, But when they found out that 6 months, he was even incapable of forming a government, of considering a federal executive council, they discovered that, this man has nothing to offer. He's clueless. People were stealing right, left, and center. They all came back. They went back to business as usual. What's the point I'm making? If you are exemplary, the people will follow. That's why I believe that we have a problem in Nigeria today, both that of followership and leadership. But I believe that the leadership holds the key. Because if you are exemplary in conduct, the people have no choice but to queue and follow.
Let's have your take on this scandal rocking the presidency that is almost making Nigeria a laughingstock before the global community, about a fake agency, about a man who is a safe-styled director general. They now call him founder of an agency of government. Yet, we've also had denials from those in government contradicting themselves. The accountant general said there was no account opened at the CBN. The CBN came before the House committee and said, we have 2 accounts opened for him, for domiciliary account, pounds, dollars, even though there are no inflows yet. In all of this, has an official office at the Federal Secretariat. The head of service says, well, this office was not allocated to him personally, but to the SGF. So we should ask, yet all these people involved, fingered, named, are still sitting pretty in the office. But the young man is in police custody, and the ICPC have quizzed him yesterday, and they have 30 days to wrap up their investigation according to the president directive. What do you make of all of this?
First, when you say it's capable of making Nigeria a laughingstock, it has made Nigeria a laughingstock already. Not that it's, come on, who takes you seriously when you begin to pander and deflect on the issues of responsibility and you say, oh, it is that. Look, even as clueless as Buhari, even as incompetent as Buhari, he fired his secretary of government over grass cutting. You know? What is so special in Femi Gbajabiamila still retaining that office when a matter is being investigated that concerns his involvement and the involvement of his office? I mean, Gbajabiamila is a lawyer, you should know. You can't sit as an accuser and a judge in your own case. If the government is here, the first thing is for him to step aside. And as the revelations are coming up now, maybe you ask the SGF, you ask him questions. If he's not able to answer, they should step aside, because you are saying the HOS is saying that the office was given to the SGF. So probably it's the SGF that allocated the office to the young man. So these are people by now, even on self-honor, they should even step aside. Why do you want yourself and your family name to be so ridiculed? You know, the truth is that whatever is going on now, with the desperation to cover up, I believe personally, and I suspect, that it has the imprimatur of the presidency. Yes, because if it doesn't, some hairs would have rolled by now.
There are those who argue that will the president sack everybody because of just mere allegation?
Who are everybody? Yes, when an allegation is made, we are not saying sack. Why don't you ask your chief of staff to step aside for proper investigation? Because now he has the capacity and capability and resources to interfere with the investigation. It's even possible that those who are doing investigation report to his office, because you can't see the president without seeing him. That's what we are saying. Nobody is even saying outright sack, because it will be unfair when you have not found a man guilty of something, you punish him outright. Step aside, my friend, for proper investigation, so that you don't interfere with the investigation, because you can use the paraphernalia of your office to influence investigation.
How many people would the president suspend? Because this is politics.
If you need to suspend everybody, if you even need to suspend himself, let him suspend himself. Yes, critical situations require critical solutions. What are we talking about? Have people not been dissolving cabinets? So what is wrong with that? People dissolve cabinet. So the people, when they ask this woman to step aside, Betty Edu, so what was special in that? Why that? Why? Till today, we have not heard the product of the investigation into Betty Edu, because it's not just to step aside. There are consequences for actions. If you have a corrupt action or a corrupt practice, people must pay the price. There are consequences for it. But today, Betty Edu is probably living a luxurious life somewhere, you know, but just step aside. It's just like what happens before. I don't know whether it's still happening now. People, EFCC will still cease building, through our self-official in the court. These people go and buy the assets. Either directly or through process. So what are we talking about? So it's possible you just suspend somebody and the person is still enjoying all the perks of the office, you know, even more. Because this time now there's even no official restraint. So I'm saying that if the president needs to even dissolve his cabinet for this, he should dissolve it. There are no sacred cows. If you want to fight corruption, you fight corruption. If you don't want to fight, tell us you are not fighting corruption, so that we know. And we know that this government is not fighting corruption.
But don't you also blame the opposition that the opposition is not doing enough? Because matter of fact, the opposition should have been feasting on this matter. It even took the foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs to flag this so-called fake agency now. So what's the opposition? Are they doing enough?
No, the opposition has been doing something. Or the opposition parties have been doing something.
But not
but
enough.
It is not, in my opinion, too, it's not enough. You know, but there's just little you can do under this circumstance. Why do I say so? We have a peculiar situation where the press has been muzzled. Those who are not outrightly muzzled engage in self-censorship. You know, all the security agencies take executive direction. The judiciary is comatose. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that the survival of democracy in Nigeria is in the hands of the judiciary and, to an extent, the media. Ironically, I belong to both parties or both professions, The survival of this country is in the hands of the judiciary. Because sometimes I sit down and wonder whether the law I was taught in law school is still what's in the book, because you cannot really understand certain things. However, I agree with you that the opposition can do more, but these are the constraints. Take, for instance, even the media today. Take all, if not for social media, you will not, we are happy for social media for people like you guys. Which traditional broadcast organization can allow you to speak no hold bar? The first thing you hear, I'm surprised I've not heard it from you. You hear your moderator or your anchor, please, you have to, you have to tone down your language, because, you cannot prove that, or, because of NBC.
This is Naija Unfiltered.
Yeah. So thank God this is unfiltered, but those ones are filtered, so. So that is it. So these are the challenges we do have in the opposition, but it's not an excuse. Because if some of us who participated in tackling military dictatorship that eventually endorsed this democracy, those tactics are still there. But we are just saying, let's give democracy a chance. So that people don't think you are a product of sour grapes, because you didn't win election, that's why you are doing all that. So you moderate yourself, but they don't moderate themselves. But let me quickly say that what we are witnessing with the APC government, starting from 2015 till now, is succinctly captured and explained by two political science scholars in Harvard University who wrote a book, Why Democracies Die. And the conclusion of that book was that democracy is not going to be period. The greatest challenge to democracy is not the armored tank or the booming guns, but it's by those who find themselves in position of authority through a democratic process, who will now use their position to subvert democracy and undermine democratic institutions. That is what we are witnessing in Nigeria today, where there's no respect for judiciary, there's no respect for freedom of the press. You treat your opponent, political party opponents, the other parties, not as a legitimate opponent, but as enemies that must be crushed. So when you read that book, what is happening now is not a surprise to me, because it's just a replay of what those two scholars, explain in the book.
Before, let's begin to wind down and let's return to 2027 political permutations. Tell us about 2027 presidential elections. What are your chances? And give us a little bit of detailed analysis on how you think your party and its candidates will rout President Tinubu.
Frontally speaking, in a free and fair election, that's a caveat. In a free and fair election, NDC, come May 29, 2027, Peter Obi will be sworn in as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with Rabi Musa Kwankwaso as the vice president. However, like I just told you about the book Why Democracies Die by Levinsky and Ziblatt, the Harvard political science scholars, they've enumerated all these characteristics, that the APC government, the President Tinubu government, is displaying. Now, they're undermining the judiciary, no independence of the judiciary. Judgments are being churned out that contradicts precedents and known laws. The media is being muzzled. If you take, I don't know what, let me not quote the wrong thing, but the media rights agenda, that compiles all this list. From what they compiled, the arrest, detention, harassment of journalists is even higher in some instances than what took place under the military, under the Abacha regime. There's insecurity. The opposition parties are being undermined as it is now. We are still saying, is ADC going to be on the ballot? Is NDC, our own party, going to be on the ballot? These are machinations of the APC government. So, with that, the political situation is still in a state of flux. You can't really say what the next step will be. But what I know, that Nigerians are determined. The NDC is determined to play its role as an opposition party that would genuinely win the election and beat APC hands down come 2027 and assume the mantle of leadership and then begin to pilot this country on the path of growth and progress. But it is going to be a tough call, knowing that the APC government is desperate, is diabolic, is vicious, is abrasive, but at the end of the day, the will of the people will try.
How do you intend to do this? Will all this thing, all these very disturbing adjectives you use to qualify the party, and with the caveat, all other things being equal in the free and fair election, how do you then intend to rout the president?
Yeah, that's why I said, one, the choice is also up to Nigerians. You see, like my father used to tell us, it is better to die standing than to live on your knees. Like I said, for me as a person, if as a younger person, when I had no legacy whatsoever, I could volunteer myself, to join my other compatriots in tackling the military, either in the media and civil society. Is it at this age when they have passed what you call the normal life expectancy for an average Nigerian that I'm a statesman by every standard, But in Nigeria today, you see, when I want to run for elections, see that small boy, what's his problem? A statesman like me. I mean, with my age, I'm a statesman, So, but what I'm saying is that if some of us could volunteer ourselves then, I don't see any reason why we cannot do it again. And I don't see any reason why the younger generation, sure, this government should be very careful to the extent they push, because these younger guys are not as patient as we will. They are not even as deferring to cultural and traditional nuances as we are. So they should not push them beyond a certain limit. I have a son who is an obedient. I know what I do to, to say, boy, just take it easy, These young boys, these younger ones. So the president and the APC government should be very, very careful the extent they push the younger members of the society, because these are children who have lived all their lives, seeing no benefit from government, no scholarship, they don't have regular lights, they don't have regular routes, they don't have access to good health care and all that. So what do they have to lose? What do they have to lose? So I don't want them. You saw that was a tip of the iceberg, what happened in NSAS. So I'm saying that Nigerians of the progressive view and the international community should ensure that 2027 election is not only free but fair and credible.
Let's wrap up this way. Why should Nigerians trust the NDC with their votes?
Nigerians should trust the NDC with their vote because that is the alternative platform to rescue this nation from the mess. What do I mean by alternative platform? They are politicians or people by personality that have verifiable pedigree. Not people you don't know where they come from, you don't know the school they attended, you don't know the certificate they have. They will not set the Ministry of Education on fire because you ask for their certificate. You have a Peter Obi, you have a Kwankwaso, you have a Senator Seriake Dixon. These are the three major people piloting the affairs now, and the national chairman, Senator Moses Cleopas, And then some of us are also there. You can check us out. Our pedigree. Consistency. That's the right word. So these are people who are consistent. These are people who have offered something to the Nigerian society. These are people who can stand by what they believe in, come rain or shine, And some of them have been reserved and restrained. Like people say, Obi did not fight 2023 because he did not ask Obedient to fight. That's why we are saying this government should not push us. Because 2027 is not 2023. 2027 will not be 2023. Please, we want Nigeria to remain as a country. Let the people's vote count. That is my only advice.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you. We appreciate you, and we look forward to having you some other time.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure being here, and I want to also commend you people, because if not for people like you, there's so much censorship around, and so much fear. You are not able to ventilate your views and all that. But I'm happy and proud of what people are doing at SYMFONI Television, and I pray that God will grant people the strength, the wisdom, and the good head to continue and even improve on what you are doing.
Thank you very much.